My husband has a lot of family members who live in Australia. They're all wonderful people. Despite the fact that we do not always agree on politics, they're kind of, the old school type. They don't really let politics get in the way of their meaningful relationships. Well, recently he received a message from one of these family members, and she was expressing how the mental state of everyone around her is in steep decline. She shared with him a message that she had received from a friend of hers, a woman who lives in Queensland, and the message is genuinely shocking. I was shocked reading this message, and I decided that for this episode, I'm just going to read it to you verbatim. So just to get you guys ready, it's a list of the COVID rules that Australian citizens are being made to follow. And as I read this, I actually want you to close your eyes and to imagine that this was your life, and to imagine what your mental state would be like if you were being made to abide by these rules. Ready? First and foremost, there are a limited number of people allowed in your household. And at various times, she writes, we are told we are allowed no visitors. Funerals have to be kept between 5 and 10 people. Must scan a QR code to go everywhere, literally everywhere, including toilets. There are curfews, and there are helicopters patrolling the skies to ensure that everyone is abiding by the curfews. You are not allowed to go past 5 kilometers from your home. Just to put that in perspective, that's about 3 miles. A little over 3 miles from your home, you're not allowed to travel past. You're not allowed to sit down at parks, beaches, and public spaces. You're not allowed to drink or eat while standing up anywhere. You must sit down to drink or eat everywhere. No dancing anywhere. Only one person per household is allowed to go shopping for essentials. Only essential shopping is allowed. And at times, ready? The defense force and police have checked what people are shopping for. Imagine that. What are you buying today? That's happening. Dog parks, playgrounds, bike parks, beaches are closed and barricaded. Mask wearing is required when outside, and even if you are alone. And at one point in Queensland, it was also required when in your car alone or mowing the front lawn. International borders are closed. No one is allowed to leave the country. Small businesses are shut down while big businesses are allowed to operate. This next one to me it's insane. It's so crazy. Ready? Citizens are locked out of their home state. Thousands of them are not allowed to return unless they get a vaccine, only after they go through a slow and restrictive exemption request process. Okay, so imagine you live in Tennessee, all right? You happen to be in Connecticut, and they say, you know what? You're not allowed to travel from state to state. You can't go back to your home state of Tennessee unless you get a vaccine. It's actually unimaginable. Not being able to go home because you have to be vaccinated. Not only that, you have to apply once you get the vaccine to be able to go home. This is what is going on right now in Australia. I genuinely do not know what to say to this, except this. For the last 20 years, the United States has spent trillions of dollars overseas in Afghanistan fighting a war, which we lost, by the way. We were told that the war was necessary anyway. It was necessary, the slaughtering of American sons and daughters on foreign soil, because we were fighting a noble cause to spread democracy in a tyrannical land, to free an oppressed people. So I'm going to ask those same lecturing politicians and media members a question now. When do we deploy troops to Australia? When do we invade Australia and free an oppressed people who are suffering under a totalitarian regime? When do we spend trillions of dollars to spread democracy in Australia? Australia currently, make no mistake, is a tyrannical police state. Its citizens are quite literally being imprisoned against their will. So when do we deploy? Of course, I ask that in jest because we all know the real answer. What is happening in Australia under the guise of a virus, which, by the way, as of August 7, 2021, experts estimate the overall recovery rate is between 97% and 99.75%. What's actually happening under the guise of this virus is federal overreach, tyranny, totalitarianism, the kind that gives birth to evil dictatorships and human atrocities. We are watching a replay of the early ambitions of Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Fidel Castro, Hugo Chavez. That is what is hiding beneath the guise of this fictitious, perpetual need to slow the spread. We all know some more truths, that what's happening in Australia was meant to happen here in America, that this current totalitarian administration is fighting tooth and nail to trample state rights and federalize America. And if it were not for Republican governors standing in the way, we would be similarly stripped right now of our most basic of individual freedoms. Can anybody, by the way, explain to me in simple sentences why the Australian government is any better or any nobler than the Taliban? Both groups believe that they have a right to oppress and a right to imprison people for their own good. Are Western governments any better anymore? I can honestly say that never did I ever think that I would live to see a world war. But we're here. We are in the midst of an ideological and psychological global war. And it is a war that is being waged by governments all over the world, from here all the way to Australia, against the very citizens that they govern. So to that end, I say, welcome to World War III.